Howdy there, Isaac here. I know what you're thinking. Tambourine is just a jobber villain, but what if he wasn't? One of the firstborn demon spawn of King Piccolo, surely there was potential here, and I, Super Writer Guru, have come to unleash said potential. Without creating a huge intro, let's see what may have happened if Tambourine survived his fateful clash with Goku. What if Tambourine survived? The story starts now. In the original show, Goku tracked down our demon spawn after he killed Krillin. The Monkey Boy wanted revenge, and so got it after firing a large Kamehameha at Tambourine, completely disintegrating him. But here, we'll make a small change. What if, while his life flashed before his eyes, Tambourine learned a crucial lesson: how to dodge. Tambourine, mid-flight, would change his trajectory just enough so the blast would miss his vital organs, though it'd take his left arm and leg. After landing on the ground, the Namekian found himself within a river. He'd regenerate from the attack, though it'd leave him with little energy, causing everyone to believe him dead, including King Piccolo. The Demon King would then proceed to find and beat Goku, before going on to fight Roshi, which goes exactly as it does in the anime. Really, things continue as normal until King Piccolo takes over the world, including him getting his eternal youth. Tambourine, after nearly a day of resting, would finally wake up and have the energy to move around. He would telepathically reach out to Piano and King Piccolo, the former getting his message, being very happy that his brother managed to survive. However, Piccolo Daimyo was a little less enthusiastic. Sure, he was happy his spawn was alive, and though he had largely succeeded in his mission, Tambourine failed to kill the stronger opponents, the ones that really posed a challenge to the king. And now that Piccolo was young, what did he really need Tambourine for? Oh well, perhaps he did have some use as a bodyguard. The demon spawn could continue his work. For now. Once Tien shows up, Tambourine would eagerly attempt to prove his worth by fighting the warrior, but that goes about as well as it did against Goku, with the Triclops beating the Namekian to a pulp. As King Piccolo watched on, he soon spawned another son, this one being Drum, a demon far superior to his utter failure of a son. As Drum ran into the fight, Tambourine fell to the wayside, watching his younger brother fight in his stead, angering the young Namekian. He had been defeated so easily by this lowly human, and had failed his father once more, causing him to finally be replaced. Tambourine looked over to King Piccolo, who gave him a look of disgust, all while Piano ran over to his injured brother. Tien, realizing he couldn't beat Drum, would instead put some distance between them and use the Mafuba on King Piccolo. As Piano helped Tambourine up, he intently watched the beam, knowing it spelled danger for his father. He knew he should jump in the way, but he also wished to see his father perish. His father never cared about them. They were just pawns to be used and disposed of. So, if he could be defeated, then the title of Demon King would fall to him or Piano, his firstborn children. The beam, however, would be interrupted by Drum, who was quickly freed by King Piccolo. As Drum resumed his fight, Piccolo Daimyo looked to his other sons.
Ugh, you didn't move on purpose, didn't you? And as for you,
the tyrant looked at Piano.
You can't even follow this fight, can you? You couldn't save me if a fly was trying to hurt me.
Piano looked down in shame, quietly admitting he wasn't meant for fighting.
No matter. I've no use for useless children like you. I can always make more anyways.
King Piccolo raised his hand before launching a devastating explosive demon wave at his two children. Tambourine would attempt to dodge, while Piano simply closed his eyes and cowered, but in the end, they'd both perish. The arc would continue much as it did in the anime, including the spawning of Piccolo Jr. Eventually, as Goku and Yajirobe went to train with Kami, the Eternal Dragon Shenron would be revived, much to Bulma and the others' surprise. Soon, he'd be summoned, and the wish to revive all those killed by Demon Piccolo and his spawn would be made, which, coincidentally, revives Tambourine and Piano. The The two demon brothers walked out of two craters, surprised that they were alive once again. Piano celebrated their revival, saying it must have been their father who used Shenron to revive them out of guilt, but Tambourine quickly shut that down. He stated their father was dead, since energy that malevolent would be sensed from anywhere in the world. He then soon realized something that made him begin laughing uncontrollably.
What's so funny, brother?
Piano asked, not quite getting what was going on.
Don't you know what this means?
That we must collect the Dragon Balls and revive Father to get revenge on those damned humans?
No, you idiot. The time of King Piccolo is past, but our time, the time of the Demon Brothers, has come. His throne is now ours, and I, Demon King Tambourine, will rule this earth.
Piano looked a little nervous about this, but was quickly reminded of their father's actions.
Of course, but how will we rule the earth? If someone was strong enough to kill Father, then we'd stand zero chance of beating them.
As much as Tambourine hated to admit it, his brother was right. So he'd do something he hated even more. Take a page out of the human's book. He'd train for the next few years, until he became strong enough to finish off every single human on Earth. As the months passed, the Demon Brothers managed to use the peel-off ship to make a little base out in the forest. Coincidentally, the same one Tambourine fell in prior. Piano, using his intellect and ingenuity, would soon begin fiddling with the technology left on the ship, while also formulating a plan to help his brother rule the world. As Tambourine trained most hours of the day, Piano began recruiting criminals and bandits to their cause, forming a small army that would steal money and resources for the Demon Brothers. Once Tambourine found out about this, he'd be livid. But Piano simply stated that they needed somebody to collect the Dragon Balls, especially since if they did, their power would give them away to the Z-Fighters. Tambourine allowed it, though only because there were several strong humans in the group who made for good sparring partners, though he'd always end up offing them in the end. This led to Piano scolding his brother one fateful night.
Brother, those men are useful pawns. You need to stop killing them. It's also causing several people to abandon the militia.
They're lowly humans. Maybe if they were stronger, they'd survive my attacks.
Tambourine yelled, clenching his fists.
If you let them live, I bet they'd become strong. Strong enough to push you to become strong as well. Just give it a chance, brother. Our father failed to see their potential uses. But what of you?
With that, Piano left to finish some work on a dragon radar he was creating. This left Tambourine frustrated, but also a little receptive. He hated being compared to his father, although he did wish to become strong like him. The next morning, he spared the next human he had picked from the group of bandits, actually bothering to learn his name this time. The bandit's name was Yolk, and he hailed from a fearsome gang that once controlled the desert as well. Tambourine really could care less, and so made the bandit train with him, hoping Piano was right about this scum becoming strong enough to make a good training partner. 3 years would pass, with Yolk becoming quite strong, though never strong enough to rival Tambourine. The demon made sure of that. Speaking of the demon, he had grown considerably, easily being able to defeat King Piccolo several times over, though there was an interesting change Piano had noticed. While he was outwardly ruthless and evil, his energy had changed since the introduction of Yolk. In those 3 years, Tambourine had learned what mercy and hard work could do to someone, and both Piano and Yolk had managed to smooth out his rougher edges just a teeny tiny bit. That said, the Namekians still wished to rule the world, and would plan for the perfect time to do so. Piano and several bandits had heard about the World Martial Arts Tournament, and once Tambourine heard about it, he was elated. Not only would he get to test his new abilities, but he'd prove demons were far superior to those lowly humans, once and for all. he'd defeat everyone there and then announce his claim to King Piccolo's throne as King Tambourine, the ruler of the world. And thus, as the time for the tournament rolled around, Tambourine would enter, much to the shock of several fighters there, namely the ones he either killed or fought. The Z fighters took special interest in him, though nobody confronted the demon, especially since Tien and Goku both mentioned they had beaten him before. Tambourine paid no attention to most of his onlookers though. Instead, he focused on this giant green slug-like looking guy, who looked eerily similar to their father. The Namekian would telepathically ask Piano if this guy looked familiar, to which they'd both agree he must be some sort of either brother or cousin. Perhaps their father's other half decided to spawn someone to challenge them. Either way, Tambourine would need to have a talk with this Piccolo lookalike. The tournament would start much like it did in the anime, up until the second round. Tambourine would be pit against Yajirobe, the Namekian recognizing the samurai.
Ah, you were there that day I almost died. Let's make this quick, shall we?
Immediately, there would be a rather apparent power dynamic. Yajirobe was swinging and kicking as best he could, but Tambourine simply dodged and parried every single attack. Eventually, the samurai would become frustrated and began insulting his opponent, stating he'd put a hole in his chest just like Goku did to his father. This was the last straw for Tambourine, who then began fighting seriously. The Namekian began moving with quick but powerful strikes, hitting Yajirobe's shoulders and knees to stop him from being able to move or attack. Tambourine then grabbed his opponent's leg and flew into the air, before slamming him back into the tournament arena. It was an instant knockout. As the demon was announced the winner, he looked over towards Goku. So this was the man Tambourine had to defeat to prove his worth, huh? As the matches continued as normal, Kami thought about his next match against Tambourine. He'd need to take out the other spawn of King Piccolo in order to make sure Goku could focus on Piccolo Jr. Goku had already surpassed Kami himself, but the others wouldn't be able to defeat this other demon. Their match would soon come up, and Kami readied himself for a tough fight. Tambourine would enter the fight with a bit of caution, eyeing the seemingly weak man before him. He'd race forward, attempting to quickly knock the disguised guardian out of the ring with a leg sweep, only for the man to easily dodge the attack. Soon the two were locked in an intense bout of fisticuffs, neither of them having a clear edge. Then again, there were few people who could keep up with the fight. Even the Z fighters were amazed with it. As the fight continued, it would become apparent to Kami that Tambourine was just a step above him, even in skill. Kami was doing well, but a kick here, a punch there, it slowly began to whittle the Guardian down. He knew if things continued like this, he'd lose, and so too would the others. However, his waning strength gave him an idea. If he couldn't defeat Tambourine, he'd simply have to help whittle him down for the next person. Kami began going all out, even using several dirty moves before beginning to use key attacks. This caught Tambourine off guard since he had gotten used to the man's initial form of fighting. And thus, an especially powerful key blast caught the demon's left arm, taking his hand in the process. Tambourine screamed out in pain before blitzing Kami, elbowing the Guardian in the back of the neck. As Kami flew forward, Tambourine grabbed his leg and, using his wings to give him a burst of speed, ran over to the edge of the ring, flipping Kami over his head and onto the grass below. The demon would be declared the winner of this match as he regrew his hand, much to the shock of the audience. Kami walked away, sensing that Tambourine had been weakened enough to potentially be beaten by the others. For now, he'd just have to sit back and watch. Next up was Yamcha, and, well, he gets defeated. Don't get me wrong, Yamcha is strong, but he's no match for Tambourine. He does get in some really good hits with his Spirit Ball though, which further adds to the demon's injuries and fatigue. As the next few matches were decided, Kami would make sure Tambourine would be pitted against Tien, and that their match happened before Goku and Piccolo's. He then telepathically communicated with Tien, instructing the Cyclops to end Tambourine at all costs. This surprised Tien, who knew the Namekian was bad news, but had indeed followed the tournament rules and hadn't shown any signs of clear evil intent. The Cyclops would, however, agree to Kami's plan. If Piccolo Jr. was indeed as evil as his father, then Tambourine would likely help him, and become an extra problem for everyone there. He'd finish off the demon, if he could for sure confirm he was evil. Their match would soon start, with neither combatant taking any chances. The fight was brutal, with both Tien and Tambourine throwing deadly attacks at each other. Tambourine would soon begin to slow down, causing Tien to press the attack, hitting the Namekian with his multi-arm technique. Before long, the demon was the only one getting hit, with his arms put up in order to block his face and chest. Soon, Tien began to slow down as well, the intense battle getting to him, which caused his opponent to grin.
You're slowing down, Triclops. Let's finish this.
Tambourine grabbed Tien's arms before kneeing him right in the stomach. The two fell back into even ground, with them throwing fisticuffs for another minute or so. Tien, knowing he'd be outpaced if this kept up, decided to use the trump card he was saving for Goku, the multi-form technique. Tambourine, seeing 3 more Tiens pop up, would feel pretty intimidated. He'd fly a few feet away before launching an evil cannon at the 4 Tiens, who clapped back with a blast of their own. The 2 attacks met within the middle of the ring, causing a huge crater to form. Once the dust settled, Tien saw Tambourine charging at him, a large grin on the demon's face. Before Tien could react, Tambourine shot a couple eye beams at 2 of the clones, hitting them right in the eyes and causing them to disappear. The 2 remaining Cyclops retaliated with a couple mystery beams, causing Tambourine to be blown back, but not before shooting a finger beam at the last clone. The 2 combatants stood there, exhausted and out of options. They both focused on their desire to win and face Goku in the finals. They had very little gas in the tank, and so would have to rely on one final attack. Tien began charging up a powerful Dodon Ray, while Tambourine charged up an explosive Demon Wave.
This one's for Krillin, and everyone else too weak to stand up to you,
Tien said, lifting his arm up to launch his attack.
I won't be defeated by you once again. This time, I can beat you!
The 2 shot their respective attacks, their beams hitting in the middle of the ring, resulting in a huge struggle between the 2. The 2 fighters pushed themselves to their very limits, but from all his injuries and all the powerful attacks he had taken, Tambourine would fall. Tien's blast hit the Namekian, pushing him right out of the ring, but dissipating before killing him. Piano rushed out to the aid of his brother, while Tien was announced as the winner. The Tricops walked out of the ring, however, hobbling over towards the 2 demons. Piano quickly stood up, putting his arms out in his best intimidation stance.
Don't take another step. If you want to kill my brother, you'll have to go through me first.
Tien looked down towards the shaking Piano, before looking back towards Tambourine, who was looking right back at him. I'm not here to kill your brother. I just want to thank him for a good fight. You've improved a lot since last time. Let's have another match sometime soon. Tien did his best to form a smile, though he wasn't sure if this would work. He hoped that, much like Goku, he could help to change Tambourine. The Triclops could sense something in the demon. His ki wasn't as malevolent as King Piccolo's, nor did he sense any intent to kill at any point in that match. Well, until the very end.
You're making a huge mistake here. This showing of mercy is nothing but weakness. I'll come back even stronger and defeat you, Triclops.
Tambourine shakily stood, Piano helping his brother up in the process. Tien glared back at Tambourine, though he didn't make any moves. You showed mercy within this tournament several times. You're not like King Piccolo. You're better, and that's made you far stronger. Tien turned around, leaving the conversation at that. Hopefully this guy could change, just like he did after meeting Goku.
I'm not like King Piccolo. I'll show the whole world just who the real Demon King is. Just you watch, Triclops.
With that, Tambourine and Piano walked back to the stands, watching the rest of the arc play out. With the Demon Brothers learning that Piccolo is their brother, Piano would instantly want to meet him. But Tambourine, well, he'd rather keep his distance. Their brother was eerily similar to King Piccolo, and so might attempt to kill them as well. In the end, the two watched Piccolo fly away and didn't pursue, instead watching the final match between Tien and Goku, which the Saiyan won with zero effort, much to Tambourine's annoyance. Once the tournament was officially over, the two demons returned to their hideout within the forest, with Tambourine training far harder than he had prior. A fire had been lit under him, and he wouldn't let it die out anytime soon. Besides, he had something to prove to that damn Triclops. And so, the world returned to a state of peace for 5 years. That is, until a powerful presence came to Earth. But that is a story for another time. For now, I'll bid you dear listeners a good day or night wherever you are. That's it. Bye-bye.